Hello, friends. We are back today with the second episode of what we call our geopolitics themed special. Actually, our guest today is active startup founder and entrepreneur. So we have not really gone that far from our usual territory, and we'll give a bit more insight on that in just a bit. Just to introduce, my name is always Yanis Epps, and co-hosting this thing with me is all the startup accounts. Also, as usual. Hey, sir.
Hi, my friend.
Our guest today is actually a Ukrainian startup entrepreneur founder. Company who comes from Odessa and partly is also located in the United States. We're here with Vadim Rogovskiy today. Hey, Vadim.
Hey, Yanis and all this. Thanks for having me here.
And very shortly, I'll let Vadim tell more, but he's CEO and co-founder of 3DLOOK. It's a company that has basically built a leading AI-based mobility tool to measure your body fit. And this is sort of the thing that the online retailers have not really solved yet. And Vadim and his team is on the path of doing that. So you can, measure your body and your clothing might fit better. So they're a very interesting product, and we'll talk a bit about that as well. But also we want to talk about the practical, real and operational side of obviously Vadim had a pretty large startup, and when the war started, what happens with the practical things. So we'll ask a few questions about that. And very great that Vadim found time to talk, connect with us from New York, actually, right now. So let's dive in. Vadim, can you tell a short intro of 3DLOOK and what's your product about?
Yeah, sure. So we allow online shoppers to use their smartphone cameras to quickly scan their bodies and get personalized size recommendations. And not only this, but also see how their favorite clothing that they want to buy, how it looks on them before they buy. So as a result, we increase conversion rates, decrease returns, so we increase revenues for fashion e-commerce companies.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. Like you have raised so far over 14 million USD, right? Something like that.
Yeah, it's like around 15. Yeah, in total. Yeah.
And it's the product integrates within retailer apps, or you have a standalone app?
No, it's a B2B embeddable product that integrates into any e-commerce website. We don't require, one of our big advantages is that we don't require consumers to download any apps. It just happens right in their browser when they shop so they just see our widget on the product page, and then they tap into it and get into the experience.
Yeah. And your the business side of it, you take some part of commission, or you have like a licensing fee for the retailers?
It's typical SaaS. Software, we have annual contracts with monthly payments, and we mostly in the beginning we targeted enterprises, but then we decided that it's in our market it's faster to scale if you go to mid-market to potential clients with revenues between $1 and $50 million per year, and we created our first SaaS product based on Shopify, which is now on a beta testing stage, and then we are going. So it's going live on the first clients, I think, end of this week, beginning of next week, and then we are going to scale it very fast. Yeah.
All right. Just to tell a bit more to listeners about you had a company with offices in both US and as well in Ukraine and Odessa. Maybe you can tell a bit of a situation you had in, before February 2024, in normal times. How large was the team and how were you set up in Ukraine, just to give a bit background?
Yeah, of course. So I started the company in May 2016, and my co-founder, so one of my co-founders is in London. His name is Ivan. He's our chief scientist, and he's the main. He's the guy behind our neural networks, behind our in-house proprietary technologies, and then in 2017, Whitney, my second co-founder, she joined us, and she brought like more than 25 years of her career experience in fashion retail and manufacturing. So she's now based in Florida, US. And I'm originally from Odessa, from Ukraine. I was born there, but starting from 2016, I was just actively traveling between Odessa and New York and California. And I'm probably just spending maybe 40% of time in the US, 60% of time in Ukraine. And we started to grow our team in Odessa because I had already, because that's my third company, so I already had a strong network in Ukraine. I could recruit some people. I brought a few top managers from my previous company, Clicky. So that's why we started much faster. And we started to assemble a strong team of engineers there. We had 100 people from companies like Intel, Samsung, Luxoft, etc., because we had to really solve technological challenge that was not solved by many companies during the last 20 years. Lots of companies failed, burned hundreds of millions of dollars, so we had to solve it. After 5 years, we had in total like 85 people, and mostly I would say probably like 75 in Ukraine, and then like 7-8 in the US, but mostly top managers. So half of our top management team is in the US. We were hiring mostly very senior people there, and just a couple of people in Europe. And if we look at our Ukrainian part of the team, biggest team was in Odessa. It's like 40-45 people. Then we also had an office in Kiev, like for 20-25, and a small office in Lviv in a co-working space, like for around like 5-6 people. So 3 offices in total. And when it started, we obviously, so one of my board members is from the US, and he was very worried that the war will eventually begin. And my co-founder Whitney, she also was watching the news all the time, and she insisted that we do something, that we prepare in advance. But obviously, in Ukraine, no one believed in this. No one believed it could be real in 2022. No one just, and we were thinking that it is just a media fabricated war. And when I was getting lots of emails from my American colleagues or clients or partners or just people who know me, I was saying, guys, just don't watch this news. I mean, it doesn't make sense. It's crazy. I mean, and the last emails like this, I just recently checked. I've been responding to people this way even on 23rd of February, like, oh guys, don't even. It's bullshit. Don't even tell me that this can happen. Really, do you believe in it? But then it's, but why I said that I had some people in the US who basically they really insisted that we need to have some contingency plan in advance. So we were prepared. I listened to them eventually, and we prepared a plan. So we had. Our the hotels pre-booked in Western Ukraine. We even had like a transfer ready, like a few buses ready if needed. So that is why when it happened in a few hours, we had a call with my head of HR, head of finance, and we quickly decided that we are moving people out. So we did it pretty smoothly, pretty fast. They were in the western part of Ukraine by the end of that day, the 21st of February. So we moved everyone from like the western part, or because we had a few people in the western part, we had everyone from Kiev and some people from Odessa. We moved them to the western part of Ukraine, and then we also had to make sure they have internet, they have money, they have some place to work. So we did all of this, and thanks to our HR team, they really worked 24/7 for a few days, and then these people stayed there. We paid for their accommodation in March. And then they had a choice. In the beginning of April, they had a choice. They either just stay there, or someone wanted to go back. So some people went back to Odessa, but the major part of people still stays there. And also we moved some people outside of Ukraine too. The most kind of critical people to our company, we moved them outside of Ukraine. And then afterwards we moved them to Poland, to Warsaw, and we will have Warsaw with our next kind of base for our office. We already use VWork as a working space. So we have like 7-8 people there.
How did the team kind of respond to this emergency reaction? Was everybody like ready to follow your instruction and go, or there was some kind of opposition? Or?
No, I think they were. I think everyone was worried even since the beginning of February. Not everyone, but many people, and they were very relieved when they understood that we had a plan, even before it started. They were relieved.
Mm-hmm.
It helped a lot that we showed people confidence that, yeah, guys, if anything happens, we don't believe in it, but if anything happens, we'll stand for you. We're ready. We're ready to move you anywhere, because lots of companies. I mean, the major part of tech companies in Ukraine, they just didn't have a plan. Because I'm a member of lots of tech communities or some chats, Telegram, etc., and people were just shocked and like, what do we do? So we took care. So not many companies really took care of their people, but luckily we were one of them. No, we didn't have any opposition in that regard. Then we had some opposition because some people wanted to go back too early, and then we had to convince them that probably that's not the best idea.
And now, before we started recording, actually, you mentioned that, people want to go back to Odessa. What's the situation now? Have some of them gone back, or?
Yeah, I mean, just now my head of finance, she's in Moldova, but she decided to visit her family in Odessa, so she's there. But then she will go back to Moldova, and some people just decided to go back to Odessa permanently from the western Ukraine. In Odessa, it's still nervous. Obviously, it's still obviously lots of people left the city still, so lots of businesses don't work, and I cannot say it's as normal, but city goes back to normal, tries to go back as normal. But obviously, every day you hear these air raids, and sometimes once a week, some missiles still hit some military or industrial target, but no civilians were hurt as of today, which is good. But still, obviously, it's nervous, and some people. The big challenge was productivity, to manage productivity of people and to make sure they are motivated enough and productive enough. And that's why we strongly try to convince them not to go back, because we said, guys, there you won't feel comfortable, you won't feel safe, and that's why you won't be happy, you won't be productive.
What is overall productivity you can even expect in this situation? Did you change like the working hours a bit, like, so people have more time to deal with the practical things, or? Yeah,
I mean, that's a challenge of leadership for many companies now, because on one hand you have this situation that you cannot neglect, but on the other hand you have, especially in the startup, you have aggressive sales release cycle, you have aggressive goals. Some startups were caught right in the beginning of their fundraising, and you cannot just say, guys, you just do what you need for a few months. You might not work. You have to balance here. And of course, in the first week, we didn't even. We just said, guys, do what you need for you and your families. We supported them. With money, with anything, right? But then we started to gradually just make sure that they go back to work. And actually, for many of them, going back to work was even helpful, because they were able to stop thinking about anything else, right? And it helped a lot.
Yeah, right.
But still, it was a leadership challenge, because we had this product, the new product that I mentioned in the beginning. The launch was delayed for at least 1 month because of that, right? And then, but we still had to make sure, and it is a big challenge for the leadership in the company, to make sure that you kind of put people first. But on the other hand, you make sure they are productive, and you make sure they still hit their goals, and you always need to balance here. So as of today, I can say that we are around maybe 90% of productivity comparing to pre-war.
What about kind of managing the military? And I know that there's restrictions to leave the country.
Mhm.
So you mentioned that you have got some senior team out. Was that affected by these rules? And also, did some of your team want to join the fight?
Yeah. I think one actually one employee he had to join the military because just his small city was surrounded by Russians for more than a month, and he just had to do
Hmm.
it. But now he's back because it was near Kiev, and when they left that region, he is. He was safe then, so now he's back to work, even more motivated than before because we
Yeah.
supported him fully. So we just we kept his position for him. We paid him. So I mean he and now he's grateful and even more productive. And some people actually wanted to join army, but with some of them we just had honest conversations and we just explained them that guys, that's not the thing that you can do because you're not capable of doing that. You are much more helpful for your country and much more supportive for your country if you do what you do, because you are trained to do specifically what you do now. And they got it in the right way. Yeah.
Is it a situation overall, yeah, that I think a lot more people in Ukraine want to join, but then there's this weapons shortage. So can you even take all volunteers there? I mean, we're straying a bit from a topic, but just to paint a picture, or
Yeah, I mean, for example, in Odessa, I know that so some people even had to use some connections even to be on the list of
yeah.
people who joined because not just if you just go from the street and you want to join. I mean, they won't let you in because in Odessa, for example, it was much more people who wanted than actually the available spots because if someone joins, he needs to have all the equipment and food and etc. And just it's not enough for everyone who wanted to join. In the Western Ukraine, that's different. They were and still, I think, are trying to force people to go. But in Western Ukraine, the majority of people who move there, they don't want to serve in the army, and that's why it's a different situation in that region because in Western Ukraine,
Mm.
people are hiding in at their homes because they're afraid that they will be taken to the army. But in other regions like Odessa, people are trying to get into the army and they not let them in.
Mm. I mean, Ukraine is a big country, so I guess you have a different attitudes as well. We talked a bit. Or Aldous, you wanted to ask something?
No, you just mentioned that you continued, this employment, and that kind of begs the question of what happens to business contracts during wartime. Rent, supply, employee, insurance, things like that. Something that is not really known for companies. So what happens? Everything continues and life goes on and the contracts are enforced.
Actually, that's I mean it's a very similar situation to what happened during COVID. That at this time you see what are these people that you rent the office from. You see their nature, and if they're not good people, the nature. I mean, you just clearly see it. Because, for example, in Kiev, they told us that we need to still pay 40% of the rent,
Mm-hmm.
and we just said no. Then we are leaving immediately because it's not acceptable. I mean, we are not using the office. It's the war is there, but we have to pay 40%. I mean, really, and we left in Lviv, but it was just okay because it was just according to the contract. We could just terminate it when we need. And in Odessa, we still keep the office because we invested a lot of money into this office. And for now, we are allowed not to pay for it until there is like war state, military state in Ukraine. So it's fair, and
Mm-hmm.
then we'll see. But in general, I heard that this is really uh, different landlords act in a different way.
But overall, then it sounds to me like contracts are enforced. It's just a matter of kind of understanding and agreement between the parties of what's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, you mentioned it's not your first company, so obviously you have been in this for a while and are quite experienced. And I think it couldn't be for a lot of people can learn a lot about, how to handle such situations. So I wanted to ask, like, or maybe there are some kind of what principles helped you to you said you had to talk to a lot of team members, you had to convince them a lot of things, you had to calm them down, you had to deal with all those things that basically a manager, CEO has to deal with. Maybe there are any kind of tips or principles or values that helped you to guide you through this time as a manager, as a CEO.
I can tell you that first of all, you need to do. Even if it's hard, you need to be transparent and honest. I think it's hard, and when I was less experienced, I thought, okay, I need to provide a just much more beautiful version of truth because people just need it. But then when shit hits sometimes it works, but sometimes when shit hits the fan, then it's way worse because you are perceived as if you're lying to your people, and then you might be building this trust for years, and then you can ruin it after just one such occasion. So that's why we were just super transparent about our plans, about what we do and what we want to do. Like, for example, we said we cannot pay for your housing in Western Ukraine forever. We paid for 1 month for everyone in a very comfortable place, right? But then, guys, you decide. Actually, you, and also we say if you move to Poland, we also pay for your housing there because we want you guys to stay in Poland. We want to build our community there. We want to build our office there. But if you guys want to live in Spain, in Italy, whatever, you pay for yourself because. We can help you. I mean, because we need you to be in Poland, but we cannot force you to be in Poland, right? We still are happy that if you can be in any other country, but we just won't pay for your rent. So we were super transparent. Also, to be proactive, to anticipate some questions in the beginning and not wait until you have to quickly react. And also to think, and that's what I'm always learning, to self-awareness, to understand better how people react to some messages, especially when everyone is remote during the war. It's people. You can see that if you just not clear in some company-wide message, etc., you can be super surprised how people treat it. Because if people don't see something clearly, they will have their own truth, and this truth would be much more negative than you actually want it to be. They will create some fantasies, some rumors, some really bad things will come to their mind. Like if you fire one person because of wrong attitude, people will talk to each other and say, "Oh, 3DLOOK is going to let go of 10 people because they are in Ukraine," or something like that. And you're like, what? I mean, really? And that's why it's super, super, super clear and transparent in all the communication. And that's why we also, I was having CEO talks, like the company-wide call with everyone every month before the war. Now we do it more often. And I see that people need it very much. Yeah.
If we talk about preparedness, so you mentioned that you didn't really expect this to happen, and there were some warning signs, but still until the very last moment you didn't expect, but you got prepared. So for other companies in other countries, like for example our countries, what kind of maybe learnings did you have? What would you do differently, or if not, then how would you say people should be prepared for such situations? At which point you start to need making some preparations?
You mean in the future to be prepared for some force majeures like this one?
Yeah, basically.
Well, yeah, for other countries, like we're all on the border, right? Baltic countries, Poland.
Well, I think now it's a unique. It's not unique. I mean, I'm reading a book now about like world order and how different countries and states are like why some countries are prosperous and why some countries uh, how they raise and fall. And there is a cycle, but yeah, I mean, in our life cycle, it's the first time we see this. We never
Hmm.
experienced this. But if you look at 100 years or 200 years, we will see these cycles, so it repeats. And that's why what we see now, we didn't experience that in a lifetime. But for example, I tried to use my previous experience and to understand, well, I've seen lots of media fabricated wars coming from the US. I mean,
Hmm.
as always, it won't happen. But it was wrong because I didn't see, if I looked at at a longer time frame, I would see that no, it actually, every 100 years, it happens. So, and that's why, I mean, to look broader, to be more open, and to really have even to evaluate the risks and to understand, okay, I spend maybe few days for this contingency plan to protect, to hedge, to protect from super unlikely scenario. But this scenario, like it's called black swan. If black
Yeah.
swan happens, I'll be protected. Otherwise, if I just let it go, if black swan happens, the company can die. And it's better just to evaluate these risks every time. And it's better to invest in this contingency plan. And it's good if you even won't need it. But if you will need it, then you are prepared.
Yeah. And you picked Poland as potentially your next base. Was it a geographical proximity, or were Polish ecosystem or country more like open, welcoming, and had like better terms for you guys?
We discussed it with many entrepreneurs, and
Mm.
we see. I mean, and everyone. I mean, I also kind of had my own research based on some collected data from different feedback, different researches of other entrepreneurs. I kind of compiled everything. So Poland is best in terms of uh, location in connection to
Mm.
Ukraine, level of development of tech ecosystem, the size of tech ecosystem, and attitude to Poland from like by the US public companies, etc. So there are lots of R&D centers. So for
Mm.
VCs also treated super well, obviously, and also cost, because Germany obviously is even more developed in terms of tech, but Germany is more expensive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Portugal is good in terms of number of Ukrainians, and also Ukrainian community. Yeah, in
Mm-hmm.
Poland, it's Portugal is great. Lots of Ukrainian companies are going to Portugal now, but Portugal is super far from Ukraine, so logistically it's bad.
Mm.
Also, the quality of life, etc., in Portugal is lower. So that's why, according to all these criteria, we had a methodical approach, and we came up with the conclusion that Poland is the best choice for us, and we shared it with our people. And again, going back to this communication question, we
Yeah.
shared it. We explained why Poland, why, so they wouldn't have any crazy ideas why, and they understood it.
Yeah. How does now you were obviously you're working with US already before, partly there. How have you partners, investors, potential investors? Have you noticed any kind of change in their attitudes or their outlook towards basically you as a Ukrainian company? Are they more pragmatic, scared, or vice versa? They are like, yeah, you guys are in US, whatever, let's do business.
Uh, no, I can tell you. So we were actively also we were sending the updates to our existing clients every week when it
Mm-hmm.
started, then every 2 weeks, and now we just do it, I think, every month. Uh, because lots of clients were just worried that we won't make it because they thought that we have everyone in Ukraine and the servers in Ukraine. Obviously, our
Mm-hmm.
servers are not in Ukraine, and half of top management are not in Ukraine. But they had been crazy, furious, and we had to calm them down. And no one left; everything is fine. But we had to communicate with them super transparently that, guys, we are fine. We have contingency plan. We moved our critical people outside of Ukraine. We even shared contingency plan with some of them. Again, it's about transparency, and now they're fine. And also, this Poland, having an office in Poland helps them a lot to understand that even in their minds, they think, okay, Ukraine might become Russia like tomorrow. Okay, it's even hard to explain them that it's almost impossible that whole Ukraine will become Russia. But they just think this way, right? Still, for them, it's important to understand. Okay, but 3DLOOK is going to have an office in Poland, so okay, it's stable. We can do business with it, right? So it's just from a business perspective, definitely it's not a problem if a company has lots of people still in Ukraine. It's just important to make sure that all executives and all critical people are outside of Ukraine for now.
So for now, but what kind of is the outlook? What plans are you having? Obviously, you cannot predict how things will turn out, but you must have a view on the life, after, and the life going forward.
Well, I mean, in our financial modeling, we added assumptions that this might last for until the end of the year, just to have the most conservative model. And I know this, like the most kind of the smartest entrepreneurs I know, they do the same. They model it for the year, and for this year. I mean, and that's why. But of course, because we model it for the year, we understand that for example, we won't need some things. For example, we won't need lots of HR benefits like medical insurance, because people just won't be able to use it. We won't need some perks, like we won't need some corporate fitness. I don't know, some things like that, right? We won't need to invest in some offline parties, all these things, right? It's just an example. We won't pay for the offices until it finishes, like all this, but we will pay for something else, like for apartments, for online services, some that we didn't need before, right? So, but obviously, as soon as it finishes, we want to go back to our office in Odessa. We'll think about office in Kiev and Lviv. It depends on how many people will come back. I personally think that lots of people just won't come back in a short period of time, for sure. Maybe even because the longer it lasts, the more change in the mindset happens for many people, and that's why many people just won't be able to come back. Especially, I mean, in Odessa it's easier, but areas that were heavily affected, like Kiev or Kharkov, the people just won't be able to come back. So we will see. And in general, lots of experts say that even if it finishes in a few upcoming months, because they will come to an agreement, but while Russia in its current state is, while it exists, it's still going to be a very unstable area, because there is still going to be a risk that they might attack again.
Yeah. So that kind of leads about the stability to a question about investors. So as a startup, you're probably always raising. So talking to investors. Do you see some real problems coming for Ukrainian startups to secure funding moving forward? Or it's in the tech space, everything is so digital that you don't see it as a problem?
Well, I'm also a venture partner at a new VC called Geek Ventures. I joined them. So we launched it with my partner, who is GP there, like 4 months ago. And so far, probably Geek Ventures is maybe the only early stage VC that invests into Ukrainian startups actively. So we made 4 deals since the war, in the last, I think, 6 weeks. Yeah. But in general, we see that, and based on what I see from the startups that we talk to, or what I hear from other VCs, it's just important that founders are outside of Ukraine. But on the other hand, in one of the startups that is the most successful now out of these four that we invested into, one founder is still in Ukraine, but one founder is in the US, and they are crushing it really, and that's why even location of particular of the founders, even, I mean, if company is still stable and you can convince investors that even if there is no internet, because they think like this: what if there is no internet in Ukraine? What
Yeah,
if
for
there is not?
example.
What do you do? And if you say, okay, my co-founder is there, my servers are outside, so I have a plan that if it happens, then we still operate, then it's okay. So it's very clear communication. But obviously, it's just this situation put even more pressure on founders, and it really even showed even more clearly who is going to make it, just because it kind of stress tested the founders in a very short period of time, and you really see who is the really strong founder, who is very stress resistant, hardworking, hustler, looking for different ways to optimize some things, right? Able to make decisions fast, because some founders just they got lost emotionally, and I know that some founders that just still cannot even go back to this work, and it's unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, it's almost you maybe after years will be able to ask, what you did during this time and assess what, how the person handled. It's interesting angle, actually, we had not heard before. You mentioned you're active in the startup community. Maybe just to quickly ask, is there any kind of examples, maybe from the Ukrainian tech community, how they have aided the effort of either war or any humanitarian effort? Is there anything, tech minds can do to help, apart from directly firing, just like putting in the brain potential to somehow help, I don't know, hacking something in Russia or whatever, in whatever ways?
I mean, there are lots of initiatives like this. Some of my team members are involved in different activities. For example, to run ads targeted on Russian civilians, Russian people, just to understand the truth about this war. Or to some people in our company are involved in different activities related to hacking of some Russian websites. So that people just drive it bottom up. They just do it, and we support them if needed. And we also, and the company, and what we do company wide, we collect money for humanitarian efforts, first of all from our employees, and then from their friends, etc. And also the company also invested a bit, and then we support the defenders of the southern Ukraine. We every week, or we bring some lots of medicine or vests or anything else they need, and we do it in a kind of systematic way, yeah.
Is there anything, let's say Baltic tech community could help? Of course, people here are also, very involved. They're donating stuff, they're donating money, but is there maybe any kind of, I don't know, any other ways people can help or spread the word, or I don't know?
Well, I just think I like this initiative. It's called Spend with Ukraine. There is a list of Ukrainian based software services, etc. Maybe just the best way to support them, it's just, and some of them are really great. Just to use them as an alternative to some other software solutions. Not because of only they are Ukrainian, but because they might be better, right? But also they are Ukrainian. I think it's called Spend with Ukraine, and I think it's never enough. In terms of supporting, the army itself. Yeah, it's never enough, because now still. It's big shortage there, especially with like drones, with some helmets, with some AR vision, etc., or night vision, or etc. So there are lots of things that can be done. And yeah, I know some people from Baltic community. I know what they do. So that's a great support. Yeah.
Okay, we'll put the link obviously also in the description. I think it's a great, like you mentioned, it's a great and sustainable way to support, because like you said, I mean, it's a good service, which you might not know about, but now you can discover it, try it, and why not use it if you like it. So yeah, that's a very sort of pragmatic initiative as well for long term. Well, actually, last question I wanted to ask, and we touched it, but what do you think the situation will be in next few months? I mean, we don't know, obviously, but I mean, being from there, being from Ukraine, what's the feeling you have about how this resolves or continues? Or
well, yeah, I mean, definitely the longer it lasts, the more it affects the economy of the country and the wealth of people, and it's sad, but I don't see it finishing. I don't see it ending in the next kind of weeks for sure. But optimistically, it can end in a couple of months. Pessimistically, it can last longer, right? Maybe like some people think really until the end of the year, but I still hope it can last. It can end in summer, yeah, and then it will take some years to rebuild the country, etc. And there's also a big opportunity for some startups, for some businesses. Always, every crisis is a big opportunity. And I think there is a big opportunity for educational startups, for example, because millions and millions of people will have to be retrained, repurposed to do other jobs, especially tech, because tech industry is the only one successful export-oriented industry in Ukraine now. Nothing else works properly, right? No agriculture, no transportation, because it's just on hold, right? So that's why lots of people will have to be retrained to work in tech, and that's why it's a big opportunity for educational startups, for example. And hopefully lots of people will come back to Ukraine to help to rebuild it, and we will also, on behalf of 3DLOOK, support it however we can, and still will have lots of people, and we're still hiring in Ukraine, nevertheless. So that's it.
All right. Well, I mean, I've been in Ukraine a few times. Definitely, as soon as realistically, we'll try to at least go there and spend some time there, because I mean, I think I have a lot of great towns to visit. So yeah, guys, I mean, like all this, anything you wanna still ask? Otherwise, I think we had a very insightful conversation. Just want to thank Vadim for his time and dialing in from the other side of the ocean in a different time zone. But yeah, thanks a lot for answering these questions.
Yeah, guys, and thank you for your thoughtful questions. Yeah, I think it was hopefully it's going to be interesting for the audience, and I'd be happy to see each other in person at some time.
Yeah, definitely. To subscribe to listeners, please, click subscribe. Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You will not miss an episode. We come out every Tuesday and trying to bring you insightful things. And obviously, I think that today very, very good, interesting, and deep insights, and also a lot we can learn from how Vadim and other founders are handling the situation. Yeah, thanks once more, Vadim, and we definitely see each other. And if something, then how people can reach out to you, if they have some business offers or they maybe want to work for your companies, that are like email or LinkedIn, what channel you use?
Yeah, I'm very accessible via LinkedIn or Facebook. I'm more active on LinkedIn, but on Facebook as well. And my email is vadim@3dlook.me. So,
yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Vadim, and best of luck for your company and health and safety for your team.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you guys. Staying in touch.